Imagine you're the most influential music group in the world. You've been nominated for a Grammy multiple times, but you've never taken one home. Then, in the middle of your biggest comeback in years, you get news that there's a new category created just for you. Not a main category, not the big stage you've been fighting for all along. A separate category based on which continent you're from. What would you do? 7 men from South Korea just gave their answer. And this week, that answer shook the entire global music industry. This isn't about winning or losing. It's about dignity, identity, and a bigger question: who gets to decide which box someone's music belongs in? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down BTS's decision that stunned the international entertainment world, complete with the full timeline, the Grammy leadership's response, and why this moment could mark a turning point for Asian music on the global stage. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story runs deep and the details might leave you shaking your head. Before we dive into the main drama, let's rewind a bit, because this moment didn't come out of nowhere. It's the culmination of a long journey. This has been a year of massive resurgence for BTS. After completing their mandatory military service, which kept them apart for years, all 7 members, RM, Jin, Suga, Jhope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook, finally reunited as a complete group. And they weren't holding back on this comeback. Back in March, they released their 5th studio album, Rang, a title drawn from a traditional Korean folk song loaded with historical and cultural meaning. This wasn't just another release. It shot straight to the top of Billboard's main singles and albums charts, sparking a massive global response. They didn't stop there. BTS followed up with the World Tour Rang, which just wrapped its European leg in Paris. Picture that comeback energy, a #1 album worldwide, an international tour drawing huge crowds, and millions of fans who'd been waiting 7 years for this moment. The peak came on July 19th. BTS performed on what might be the most watched stage in the world this year, the FIFA World Cup 2026 final halftime show at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. They shared an 11-minute set with legendary names like Madonna, Shakira, and Justin Bieber, performing their iconic hit Dynamite. Billions of people around the world watched that moment. It's fair to say this was one of the highest points of BTS's career as a global phenomenon. No longer just a K-pop boy band, but a pop culture icon on par with legends across generations. With this much momentum, a #1 album, a sold-out world tour, a performance on sport's biggest stage, it made sense that expectations for their first Grammy win were sky-high. After years of nominations without a win, this year felt like now or never. And then, something happened that changed everything. About a month before this drama broke out, the Recording Academy, the organization behind the Grammy Awards, announced something that, on the surface, sounded like good news: a new category called Best Asian Pop Music Performance. According to the Recording Academy's official description, this category was designed to recognize artistic excellence in Asian pop music performances originating from or widely recognized within Asian markets, including but not limited to K-pop, J-pop, and C-pop, with meaningful use of one or more Asian languages. On paper, this sounds like a step forward, an official recognition of the incredible contribution Asian music has made to the global industry over the past decade. Isn't this exactly what many Asian artists have been fighting for? Recognition from Western music institutions that have historically seemed reluctant to open their doors wide. But hold on, here's where the problem lies. Many people, fans, industry observers, even parts of the media, saw this category not as a form of honor, but as a subtle way to sideline Asian artists from the main, most prestigious categories, like Record of the Year or Album of the Year. Picture this. Instead of competing head-to-head with Taylor Swift, Beyoncé, or Bruno Mars in the main categories, you're instead boxed into a separate category based on which continent you're from. It sounds like recognition, but it feels like exclusion dressed up neatly. This criticism grew even stronger given BTS's own track record at the Grammys. The group had been nominated several times before, including in the Best Pop Duo/Group Performance and Best Music Video categories, but had never won a single award. So when the Asian Pop category appeared right in the middle of their biggest comeback momentum, Many took it as a signal that the Grammys never truly intended to give them a seat at the main table. One BTS fan even openly shared his disappointment with the media, saying he felt disappointed and a bit confused when he heard the Grammys plan to launch this Asian music category. He felt the move seemed like a way to keep BTS away from the more prestigious categories, a subtle way of sidelining Asian artists rather than genuinely celebrating them. This creates a classic dilemma in the entertainment industry. When does a special category genuinely represent positive representation? And when does it become a gilded cage that limits artists instead? For emerging Asian artists just starting to break into the global scene, a category like this could be a valuable stage for international spotlight. But for BTS, who have already moved past that stage, who have become a global pop culture force in their own right, this category felt like a step backward rather than forward. And as we're about to see, BTS themselves seem to agree with that criticism. Last Wednesday, something happened that instantly became a trending topic across every social media platform in the world. All 7 members of BTS, RM, Jin, Suga, jhope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook, simultaneously posted an identical statement on their individual Instagram accounts. Not through the group's official account, not through their label, but directly from each member's personal profile. A gesture that felt deeply personal and sincere. The statement, in essence, said they had decided not to submit their music for Grammy consideration this year. They hoped their music could be heard and loved for what it is, rather than being divided by region or language. They also thanked ARMY, their devoted fanbase, and everyone who had always stood by them. Picture the impact. A group whose stature now rivals global icons, who had just performed in front of billions at the World Cup, whose album topped charts worldwide, consciously and deliberately choosing to step back from one of the most prestigious music awards on the planet. This wasn't a small decision. It was a statement of principle. The announcement came exactly 1 month after the Recording Academy revealed the Best Asian Pop Music Performance category. That precise timing led nearly everyone, media, fans, industry watchers, to interpret it as an open protest against the new category. What made this moment even more dramatic is that the decision came at the most unexpected time. Not during a quiet period, not when their career was struggling. It came right at the peak of their biggest comeback in years. In other words, BTS chose to walk away from the golden opportunity of winning their first Grammy, right when that opportunity was at its highest point in their entire career. It's like an athlete performing at the best form of their career, then choosing to withdraw from the biggest competition because they feel the rules aren't fair. A decision that requires extraordinary courage, given the financial and reputational pressure that comes with it. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours, hashtags related to the decision dominated trending topics across platforms. Major global media outlets, from Variety to Forbes to CNN, immediately published in-depth coverage of this stunning decision. Of course, a decision this big couldn't go unanswered by the Grammys themselves. Recording Academy CEO Harvey Mason Jr. issued an official statement to various media outlets. He said he was saddened to hear about BTS's decision not to participate in the Grammy process this year, but admitted he understood and respected the decision as a fellow music industry professional. Interestingly, Mason Jr. also tried to clarify a possible misunderstanding behind the decision. He explained that artists who submit their work in a specific genre category, such as Asian pop, can still submit for general field categories, like Record of the Year. In other words, he argued, the new category shouldn't have prevented BTS from still competing in the main categories. He also emphasized that the spirit behind the Asian pop category was purely to celebrate the depth, diversity, and extraordinary growth of pop artistry coming out of Asia, not to limit or sideline artists from that region. However, this explanation didn't seem to be enough to quiet the wave of criticism from fans and industry observers. Many still felt that, regardless of the good intentions behind it, the symbolic impact of creating a separate category still felt like a form of othering, separating Asian artists from the mainstream rather than truly integrating them. This debate opened up a much bigger conversation about how Western music institutions have historically treated non-Western artists, especially those from Asia. Is a regional category genuinely a form of representation? Or is it a way to avoid having to truly compete head-to-head with them in the main categories? This isn't the first time an issue like this has come up in the history of international music awards. But BTS's decision to openly and firmly voice their stance, in such an elegant yet firm way, brought this issue far more attention than ever before. Reactions from ARMY and music fans worldwide were varied, but the majority actually praised the courage and maturity BTS showed in delivering this decision. Many highlighted how BTS's statement was delivered in a calm, elegant tone, completely free of any hostility. No insults, no personal attacks on the Grammys. Just an honest, dignified statement of principle. Several music industry observers viewed this decision as a rare display of maturity in the entertainment industry, where conflicts like this usually spiral into emotional public drama. BTS chose a different path, stepping back with their heads held high, while still delivering a clear and firm message. This also isn't the first time BTS has shown a critical stance toward the Grammys. Throughout their history of multiple nominations without ever winning, there have been moments where members of the group openly expressed disappointment with the Grammy judging process. So this decision can be seen as the culmination of long-simmering frustration. Interestingly, many observers noted that by withdrawing from this year's Grammy competition, BTS may have gained a far bigger form of validation than any gold trophy could ever provide, recognition for their courage in standing up for a principle in front of the entire watching world. Ironically, the decision to not compete ended up making BTS's name talked about more worldwide than if they had simply been nominated like in previous years. This is a classic example of how a firm, principle-driven stance can generate a much bigger cultural impact than simply chasing institutional validation. Let's step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture behind this event. For over a decade, BTS has been a pioneer in paving the way for non-Western music, especially K-pop, to be widely accepted on the global music stage. They've broken record after record on American charts, appeared on the most prestigious television shows, and built an incredibly loyal and massive international fan base. But behind all these achievements, one thing they had never achieved was official recognition from the Grammys, an institution historically regarded as the highest representation of musical prestige in the Western world. The tension sparked by this Asian pop category actually touches on a much deeper issue: how major Western institutions redefine diversity and inclusion in practice. Is creating a separate category genuinely a form of honor, or is it a way to avoid the more fundamental structural change, truly giving equal space to non-Western artists in the main categories? BTS's decision to decline participation can be read as a statement that true recognition can't be forced through boxes separated by geography or language. Music, in their view, should be judged purely on quality and impact, not on which continent it comes from. This is a message that resonates far beyond the world of K-pop. It touches on a broader debate about how the global entertainment industry treats art and artists from outside the traditional centers of cultural power, a conversation relevant to musicians from Africa, Latin America, the Middle East, and many other parts of the world who often face similar dilemmas. Of course, there are also differing views in this debate. Some argue that regional categories like this actually provide valuable opportunities for artists who don't yet have a stage as big as BTS's to gain recognition and global exposure. For them, the issue isn't the existence of the category itself, but how it's positioned and understood within the broader context. This debate is likely to continue rolling on in the near future, and BTS's decision could become a catalyst for policy change in the global music awards industry going forward. So what does all this mean for BTS's future? What's clear is that this decision won't slow down their career, which is currently at its peak momentum. The World Tour Erarang is still ongoing, and with their track record, including 5 Billboard Music Awards for Top Social Artist between 2017 and 2021, Artist of the Year honors at the American Music Awards in both 2021 and 2026, and the status of being the most awarded group in BBMA history since 2022. Their reputation as one of the biggest musical forces in the world is beyond question. At the end of the day, the Grammys are just one of many forms of recognition a piece of music can receive. And with this bold decision, BTS has shown that the true value of art isn't always measured by a trophy on a stage. Sometimes, real value lies in the courage to stand firm on principle, even when the price is giving up a golden opportunity right within reach. For ARMY around the world, this moment might just become one of the strongest proofs of why they love BTS, not only for their music, but for the character and values they've held firm throughout their career. And for the global music industry as a whole, this decision might mark the beginning of a bigger shift in how award institutions view and treat artists from outside America and Europe. So there you have it, the full timeline behind BTS's shocking decision to opt out of the upcoming 2027 Grammy Awards, a decision born out of criticism toward the new Best Asian Pop Music Performance category, which many felt was more like exclusion than honor. What do you think about BTS's decision? Was this the right and courageous move, or was it too risky given how much opportunity they gave up? And what's your take on the Asian pop category itself? Is it a form of positive representation, or a subtle way of pushing Asian artists away from the main categories? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your perspective. Don't forget to like this video if you found the breakdown helpful. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest updates on global entertainment news, and share it with friends who are curious about how this drama unfolds. See you in the next video.